My brother walked into the disciplinary hearing smiling. Not a nervous smile, not a forced one. It was the kind of smile people wear when they believe the ending has already been written and they think they've won. He nodded at people as he passed. Shook hands, straightened his tie like this was some ceremony meant to celebrate him, like he was about to be applauded for doing the right thing. And the worst part, everyone bought it. I sat there quietly at the long wooden table, hands folded, spine straight, face neutral. Inside, though, my chest felt hollow, like someone had scooped something vital out of me and left behind a cold echo. This wasn't just a hearing, this was a public execution my own brother had organized. The accusation. He cleared his throat dramatically before speaking. "Your Honor," he began, voice calm, measured, almost regretful. "This is extremely difficult for me. The person sitting across from me isn't just the respondent, he's my brother." He paused, that pause was calculated. "I never wanted it to come to this," he continued, shaking his head slowly. "But when I discovered that he was practicing law illegally, offering legal advice, drafting documents, representing clients without a license, I had no choice but to come forward." Murmurs filled the room. Illegal practice of law. Those words carry weight, careers die under them, reputations don't recover. I could feel eyes on me, curious, judgmental, some already convinced. My brother went on, describing how he had agonized over reporting me. How he'd lost sleep, how this was about protecting the integrity of the legal profession. He even dabbed his eye with a tissue, a performance worthy of an award. I didn't interrupt, didn't argue, didn't defend myself, I just watched. Because this wasn't the first time he'd tried to destroy me, growing up in his shadow. My brother had always been the golden one, straight A's, law school acceptance letters framed on the wall. Our parents bragging about him at family dinners like they'd personally crafted him from marble and ambition. I was the opposite in their eyes, the quiet one. The drifter, a kid who asked too many questions instead of memorizing answers. But what they never saw, what he never forgave, was that I understood things he didn't. Where he memorized statutes, I understood strategy. Where he followed rules, I understood systems. I worked in compliance, regulatory consulting. The gray zones of corporate law where precision matters more than titles, where knowing how laws function is more important than having your name on a certificate. Clients came to me because I solved problems. That terrified him. Because in his mind, success was hierarchical, linear. If I wasn't beneath him, then something was wrong with the universe. So when my reputation started growing quietly, when people began seeking my advice, when whispers of "he's really good" floated back to him, he snapped. The betrayal. He didn't confront me privately, he didn't warn me, he built a case, screenshots, emails taken out of context, client communications deliberately misrepresented. He framed consulting memos as legal opinions, strategy discussions as representation. And then he turned me in to the Bar Association, publicly, formally, as if I were some criminal fraud exploiting the system. The hearing room felt colder as he spoke, wood-paneled walls. Flags standing stiffly in the corners, the judge listening carefully, pen tapping once against the folder. My brother finished with a soft sigh. "I hope the court understands this was never personal." That almost made me laugh. The calm before the storm. When it was my turn to respond, the judge looked at me expectantly. "Do you wish to address the accusations?" he asked. I stood, slowly, every movement deliberate. "No, Your Honor," I said evenly, "I don't." A ripple of surprise went through the room. My brother's smile flickered just for a second. I sat back down, because everything I needed to say was already in the file. The judge reached for the thick folder on his desk. It had been sitting there the entire time, untouched. My brother watched confidently. He even leaned back slightly in his chair, crossing his arms like a man settling in to watch the credits roll. The judge opened the folder, turned one page. Then another. His pen stopped tapping, his brow furrowed. The room grew very quiet. I noticed the exact moment his expression changed. Color drained from his face, his lips pressed into a thin, tight line. He flipped faster now. Pages rustling sharply. His breathing changed, shallower, more controlled. Then he stopped. He looked up, not at me, at my brother, when confidence dies. My brother straightened in his seat, still smiling. The judge stood abruptly. So abruptly his chair scraped loudly against the floor. He clutched the folder to his chest like it contained something radioactive. "I need a moment," he said. Then he turned and walked out of the room without another word. The door shut behind him with a soft final click. Silence, pure, suffocating silence, the realization. My brother's smile froze. He glanced around, confused. Nervous laughter escaped his throat. "That's unusual," he said lightly, trying to regain control. "But I'm sure." He stopped mid-sentence, because I was looking at him now, really looking, and for the first time in his life. He looked afraid, because in that moment he finally understood something. He hadn't destroyed me, he had handed me the knife, and sharpened it himself, inside my head. I felt calm, not relief, not triumph, just certainty. That quiet, bone-deep certainty that comes right before an avalanche hits. I remembered every late night documenting my work, every contract reviewed by licensed attorney. The judge didn't come back alone. That was the first sign that this wasn't going to end the way my brother had imagined. 2 men followed him into the room, both in dark suits, both carrying thin briefcases instead of notepads. They didn't look confused, they didn't look curious, they looked prepared. The judge didn't sit down right away. He stood at the front of the room, placed the folder on the bench with a careful, almost reverent motion, and scanned the room once before speaking. His voice was different now, flat, controlled, dangerous. "This hearing is paused," he said slowly, effective immediately. My brother let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. Then the judge turned his gaze directly toward him. "But it is no longer about the respondent." The air left my brother's lungs, the first crack. "I need you to remain seated," the judge said. My brother half rose instinctively, then sat back down. His confident posture had completely collapsed. His shoulders slumped forward like gravity had suddenly increased just for him. The judge nodded toward one of the men beside him. "This is Mr. Havorson from the Professional Responsibility Board, and this is Ms. Klein, special counsel assigned to investigatory review." They didn't acknowledge my brother, didn't look at him, they were looking at the file. The judge continued, "During my review of the submitted evidence, I discovered several inconsistencies." He flipped the folder open. Specifically, documents allegedly authored by the respondent that, upon closer inspection, contain metadata inconsistencies, jurisdictional conflicts, and annotations that do not match the respondent's professional history. My brother swallowed hard. I could see sweat forming at his hairline now. The trap springs. The judge turned a single page. "Additionally," he said, "this filing includes correspondence that appears to have been selectively edited." He looked up. "Mr. He addressed my brother by name. "Did you personally compile and submit this evidence?" "Yes," my brother replied quickly, too quickly. "Of course I stand by every." "Did you alter any of it?" The question hung in the air like a guillotine blade. My brother laughed nervously. "No, absolutely not." The judge nodded once. "Interesting," he said quietly. He slid the folder toward Ms. Klein. She opened her briefcase and removed a tablet, tapped twice, then rotated the screen so everyone could see. Emails, highlighted, side-by-side comparisons, one column labeled submitted evidence, the other labeled original records. Whole paragraphs were missing, sentences rearranged, legal disclaimers removed, context stripped away like flesh from bone. The room erupted in whispers. My brother leaned forward, squinting. That's not what I submitted." Ms. Klein finally spoke. "That is exactly what you submitted," she said calmly. "We retrieved the originals directly from the server logs." Watching him break, my brother turned to look at me, really look. His eyes were wide now, desperate. I didn't react, didn't smirk, didn't nod, didn't gloat. I simply sat there, because the most painful thing you can give someone who betrayed you. His silence, the second blow. The judge raised a hand for quiet. "There's more," he said. My brother let out a weak sound, something between a laugh and a plea. The judge flipped to another section. "Several of the allegations made against the respondent rely on the assertion that he acted independently, without oversight from licensed attorneys." He paused. "However, this file contains signed supervisory agreements from 3 licensed firms." He looked at me now, "Which you voluntarily included." I nodded once. "Furthermore," the judge continued, "each agreement includes time-stamped review notes authored by a licensed attorney." He tapped the page, "One of whom," he added slowly, "is sitting in this room." Gasps. A man 2 rows behind my brother cleared his throat and stood. I recognized him immediately. Senior partner, big firm, untouchable reputation. I can confirm, the man said evenly, that I personally reviewed and approved the respondent's work. My brother turned pale, because that meant only one thing: if I wasn't practicing illegally. Then someone else was lying. The knife turns. Ms. Klein scrolled again on her tablet. While cross-referencing the complainant's submissions, she said, we identified something unusual. She tapped, multiple client matters attributed to the respondent were actually handled by the complainant. My brother's head snapped up. That's not. And she continued without missing a beat, at least 4 of those matters fall outside the complainant's licensed jurisdiction. Dead silence, the judge slowly closed the folder. Mr. he said, voice ice cold, do you understand the seriousness of what is now being alleged? My brother stammered, this is a misunderstanding. I was trying to protect the integrity of the profession, the judge finished. My brother nodded frantically. The judge leaned forward, by falsifying evidence. The collapse. My brother's chair scraped back as he stood, hands trembling. I didn't falsify anything, he said, voice cracking. I just simplified it. The judge didn't raise his voice. That was worse. You knowingly submitted altered records to initiate disciplinary action, he said. You accused a colleague, your own brother, of criminal misconduct. He gestured to the file. And in doing so, you exposed your own violations. My brother's face crumpled. The hero mask finally shattered. He looked small now, cornered, human, the final twist. Ms. Klein spoke again. There's one final matter. My brother flinched. She looked directly at him. Your submissions triggered an automated audit. The room felt like it tilted. That audit uncovered a pattern of unauthorized representation, undisclosed conflicts of interest, and improper billing practices spanning approximately 3 years. 3 years, my brother whispered. No. The judge stood. This hearing is officially concluded, he said. Effective immediately, the complainant is under formal investigation. He turned to me. The respondent is cleared of all allegations. Then back to my brother. And you are hereby referred for disciplinary review, pending immediate suspension. The moment my brother's knees gave out, he collapsed back into his chair. No dramatic. I didn't look back, not when the door shut behind me, not when I heard his chair scrape again, not when his voice cracked my name like it still meant something, because some endings don't deserve an audience. The quiet after the explosion. The hallway outside the hearing room felt unreal. Too clean, too bright. Like the world hadn't realized something massive had just collapsed inside one small wooden chamber. My footsteps echoed as I walked toward the exit. Each step felt lighter than the last, not because I was happy, but because something heavy had finally been removed from my chest. I stopped at the restroom sink and gripped the porcelain edge. My hands were shaking, not with fear, with release. For years, I had lived under the quiet pressure of being less than the brother who didn't follow the script. The one who wasn't supposed to succeed without permission, and for years I had endured his looks, his comments, his thinly veiled warnings disguised as concern. You should be careful, you don't want to cross lines, people are watching. He had been right, people were watching, just not the people he thought. The calls begin. I hadn't even reached my car before my phone started vibrating. Once, twice, then nonstop missed calls, unknown numbers, colleagues, partners. One voicemail after another stacking up like dominoes. The first message I listened to was from a client. Hey, I just heard. I wanted to say, I'm sorry you went through that, and also thank you for everything. The second was from one of the firms that had supervised my work. We stand by you, fully. The third was shorter, colder, from my brother. Please call me. I didn't. The family fallout. The news didn't stay contained for long. It never does. By that evening, my parents knew. I sat across from them at the same kitchen table where they used to praise him and question me. The same table where my future had always been spoken of with polite uncertainty. My mother's hands trembled as she held her mug. My father stared at the grain in the wood like it might explain how everything had gone so wrong. He said you were doing something illegal, my mother whispered. I nodded. He lied, my father said quietly. The words landed heavier than the judge's ruling, because this wasn't just professional now. This was personal history being rewritten in real time. They asked where he was. I told them the truth. Under investigation. Silence, no defense, No excuses, just the realization that the son they'd trusted had tried to burn the other one alive, his fall. Over the next few weeks, pieces of his life began disappearing. First, his cases were reassigned. Then his name quietly vanished from the firm website. Then came the formal notice, license suspended pending review. Friends stopped returning his calls. Colleagues distanced themselves. The same legal community that had once applauded his integrity now avoided him like a contagious disease. Reputations in law don't die loudly. They rot, slowly, publicly, irreversibly. The last message. A month later, I received one final message from him. A long one. No accusations, no anger, just desperation. He wrote about pressure, expectations. How he felt like he was constantly racing me even when I wasn't running. He said he never meant for it to go that far. He said he just wanted to put me back in my place. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I deleted it because some apologies aren't about remorse. They're about regret for consequences. My life uninterrupted. Here's the part people expect to be flashy. The victory lap, the smug satisfaction. The dramatic I won moment, that didn't happen. What happened was quieter. I went back to work. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't looking over my shoulder. Clients trusted me openly now. Firms defended me without hesitation. My name stopped being whispered and started being said plainly. Respect doesn't shout, it settles. The real revenge. Revenge isn't screaming across a courtroom. It's not pointing and laughing. It's walking away whole while the person who tried to destroy you has to live with the wreckage of their own choices. My brother wanted to expose me. Instead, he exposed himself. He wanted to prove I didn't belong. Instead, he proved exactly where he didn't, what I learned. Some people don't hate you. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button. Comment below, what's the most brutal karma or revenge you've ever seen? And don't forget to subscribe. Because stories like this remind us that betrayal doesn't always win. The patience offers